Smith a little bit. Let me get up next to you.
Sure, no problem, brother.
This is John Smith from down at Horse Hollow, down near Monticello, where the pines grow thick. A lot of stories about him. He he's a Baptist preacher, so he's in the larger movement of leaving the Baptist church. He moves down near Huntsville, Alabama, about 1811, just as the Indian lands are being sold off and they're all being moved across what would be called the Trail of Tears. And he's going to speculate in land, buy some land that maybe improve it and sell it, make some money so it wouldn't depend on his brethren. Long story short, his children are killed in a cabin fire. Eliza and Elvira, ages 11 and 7. And then not long after that, his wife died. And so he was consumed with thoughts of Calvinism, which he'd been taught, were his children, if they were not a part of the elect, would they be lost? And so he comes back to Kentucky and hears about a young preacher that he rides about an hour's horseback ride with a friend to hear him preach. And they get done with the sermon and he looks at his watch and the hand has come around to the half an hour, and he complained to his friend that it's a bad thing for a man to ride 2 hours, an hour each way, to hear a man preach a half an hour. And his friend said, "You better look at your watch again." And the preacher had preached for 2.5 hours. We complain about long sermons today if they go more than 45 minutes, but or even that long. But of course the preacher was Alexander Campbell, and Smith supposedly said, writing home, he said, "I don't know that if I can agree with everything, but I have heard more Bible preached tonight than in all my years." And so he begins to study the Bible and leaves the Baptist church, becomes associated with Campbell, so that when the Campbell and the Stone groups that have been working together, and I need to say more about Stone because this is really, Stone predates Campbell. He's doing this 20 years before Campbell. I mean, he's leaving the Presbyterian church, but that's a story we'll talk about at Cane Ridge. And but anyway, he unites with John T. Johnson, whose markers across the way here, and at Lexington in 1832, they extend the right hand of fellowship. They agree to work together, and so people that have been reading Stone's paper, the Christian Messenger, people who've been reading Alexander Campbell, and a lot of others. I mean, these are just the guys that were sort of figureheads. They unite together and decide that we are going to work together for the common cause of trying to unite on what the Bible says rather than dividing over things the Bible does not say. Now, it is interesting also that not far from here, in fact, let's walk over this way. We saw Pendleton's house.
It says here that he was an elder of the Church of Christ.
Yeah, and you'll see it referred to. Actually, I've not read this one. You may be thinking of the one that's at Cane Ridge, where it's united with the Church of Christ. Yeah, it does. Okay.
Yeah.
They would commonly use that, and as a sort of a generic term. So there are a lot of Baptists who use the term Church of Christ. And of course, this is somebody's editorial comment made after February of 1868 about what he did or was. But it was a commonly used term.
Disciples of Christ, was that one of the groups? Or?
Well, disciple was, disciple is used 119 times in the New Testament, so it's a biblical term.
Yeah.
If you try to make it a denominational name, which is what most of the pro-instrument, pro-missionary society people did in the late 19th, early 20th century, they adopted it and made it an official title, which it now is. I mean, the title of that part of the restoration is now called the Christian Church, parenthesis,
right.
Disciples of Christ. They're a denomination. Their headquarters is in Indianapolis. Their flagship seminary, Christian Theological Seminary, is there. Most of their agencies, missionary societies, retirement fund, everything. I mean, they're a full-grown denomination, which happened really over the 20th century. They went from saying we're non-denominational, like a lot of us would say, to by 1968, when they went through their formal official restructure, and they said we need to acknowledge that we are a denomination. We look like a denomination, we talk like a denomination, we act like a denomination, we quack like a denomination. We might as well say we're a denomination and quit this "we're not a denomination" business. Well, I give them H for honesty for that. I mean, that would be my grade. I don't think that's a good thing. They think it's a good thing. I mean, they went through that formal status partly so they could participate in the in the Ecumenical Consultation on Church Union, as it used to be called. It's still COCU, which stands for something else these days. They've changed the name of it. But the idea is we want to cooperate with this Presbyterians and Baptists and so forth. So it's almost a full circle around from where some of these guys started a couple of hundred years ago, where they're saying we don't want to be affiliated or don't want to be a part of a denominational movement. We want to be independent of that. We want to be Christians only. And now it's come around to full-blown denominational status, where they participate with other denominations and would not say, in fact, they would think it a bad thing if somebody were to say, well, our unique idea is, or we are different because we have this or that non-denominational feature. That's like, they don't like that idea. So in some ways it's come full circle to that. All right, if we walk over